وصحبه أجمعين. The last time we spoke about Al-Aqidah. I believe we have finished that chapter. So let us then proceed with the next one. فصل من كتاب رسالة المعاونة والمظاهرة والمؤازرة للراغبين من المؤمنين في سلوك طريق الآخرة للإمام عبد الله بن علوي الحداد رحمه الله تعالى ورضي الله عنكم إلى أن قال وعليك بأداء الفرائض واجتناب المحارم. And it is incumbent upon you to perform that which has been obligated upon you and to avoid and abstain from that which is prohibited. وَالْإِكْثَارُ بِالنَّوَافِلِ, and to increase in the supererogatory acts. Yes, as may have discussed before, the term nawafil refers to the act of nafla, that which is in addition. Yes, in addition to that which is which is obligated. Meaning to say, it is that is performed willingly. Yes, on one side, with the intention of either to cover up weaknesses, like for example when you perform the Salatul Nawafil, the Qabliyah or the Ba'diyah, that which attends the obligatory prayers, in the hopes that there will anything that is of a blemish in the wajib will be covered in the act of Nawafil, or it is done with the intention of taqarrub ila Allah, of seeking to come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of a certain reward. Say for example, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said of the 4 rak'ahs before Asr, rahimahu abdan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy. Yes, will have love upon a servant who prays his Asr before Asr. Or when it is said of the various fada'il, of the various acts of ibadat, including the recitation of the Quran and the taking of adhkar, and of course the voluntary fast and so on. So that's the meaning of the nawafil. فَإِنَّكَ إِنْ فَعَلْتَ, and indeed if you have done that, ذَلِكَ مُخْلِصًا, with the sole intention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Al-Karim حصلت حصلت على غاية القرب من الله وخلعت عليك قلعة المحبة. Allahu Akbar. And if you have done that sincerely, and your intention is no other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the opposite of ikhlas is riya, meaning to say, to perform something, either an act of ibadah like the wajib and the nawafil, including that which is very pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to call others unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to teach others and so on. Yes, if you have done so for the sake of Allah, then it is al-ikhlas. But if you mix something within it, like let us say desiring fame or desiring goods of this world, and that is riya. Yes. So, but on the other hand, if it is done solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will come to the summit of closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will gift you with the gift of love. Yes, and that is the highest maqam, according to some of the a'imma amongst the Sufis, like Imam al-Ghazali. Some others say that there are shades of mahabbah. Yes, because there is within the Arabic language and in the writings of Imam al-Ghazali, for instance, he groups together al-mahabbah, wal-uns, wal-shawq, yes, wal-rida. Yes, so there is mahabbah, which is love, and then there is al-uns, which is the pleasure of intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is shawq, which is longing, or an intense state of feeling, of desire for the beloved, al-ishq, yes. And then finally there is rida, the feeling of contentment with whatever that the beloved have decreed. Yes, and contentment is mutual, in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Lord is content with you as a servant, and you are content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you. Radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has rida over them, and they are content with him. Yes. So if you have done that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then shall grant you of his mahabbah, his love. And if you are a beneficiary of his love, yes, that would mean, that you have attained the highest possible station in that, despite your being his mamluk, yes, or your being his possession, you being under his dominion, yes, despite the fact that you will submit to him, and you submit to him either willingly or otherwise, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, do they desire for any other religion than the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Walahu aslama, whereas everything submits to him, whatever is in between the heavens and the earth, taw'an aw karhan, either willingly or otherwise, yes, in a state of being compelled, yes, or being compelled to submit to him, because even the kafir, the fajr, yes, those who stand in stark opposition, as those who renounce their covenant with Allah, those who fall short of His commands, those who exceeds, yes, the limits and boundaries of duty, yes, those who renounce, as we said, the covenant with Him, even they submit to Him, yes, for their life is in His control, yes, their rizq is remains under His control, yes, and their ajal, yes, when the appointed time is also under His control. So on the other hand, the person who willingly strives to attain the desire of Allah, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the one who has truly benefited and profited from the life of this world. For despite him being in the possession of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are certain acts, as Professor Attas said in the concept of religion, that there are certain acts that properly belongs to him, i.e., he can choose to willingly submit or otherwise. And for this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers the greatest possible offer in that sense. For despite him belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is willing to purchase from him, is willing to take a loan from him, for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate him in multifold. In other words, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Man dhalladhi yuqridullaha qardan hasan, who is willing to give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a goodly loan, for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate him in multifold. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Allah ashtara minal mu'minin. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is willing to purchase from the believers their selves and their wealth, bi'anna lahumul jannah. Yes, in return, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall grant them His paradise. And paradise is reserved for the ones that carries iman in their heart. And paradise is reserved solely for the ones He loves. التي تسير عندها جميع حركاتك وسكناتك لله وبالله. If you have attained the station of mahabbah, if you have attained the station of yuhibbuhum wa yuhibbuna, if you have attained to the station of him loving you, or him loving them and they loving him, then in that maqam, in that station, all your movements and your silence, yes, all your movements and your silence is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, there is no longer, in other words, there is no longer any duality within you. You would have liberated yourself in that station from the hell of human vices. Yes, you would have liberated yourself from the hell of human vices and the act that produces discord within you. For you have now truly, in the sense, effaced yourself of any desire other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And since that is the fitrah, or the natural inclination upon which you have been created, that will be the greatest possible that will be the greatest possible source of bliss. Likewise, yes, it is the true meaning of sa'ada in that sense. Yes, you would be feeling certainly the ta'amul iman. Yes, the the taste. Yes, the dhawq, the sweet taste of iman. Wahya, and it is also the station of al wilaya. Yes, being in a state of being God's beloved. Yes, God's beloved, God's bosom friend. Yes, the term wilaya carries many subtle contents. According to Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, upon his in his commentary on this hadith, um, it is said that the meaning of al-wilaya here is that al-wali, or the meaning of the wali, is first and foremost al-qarib min Allah ta'ala, the person who is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a close associate, let us say, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he becomes close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala litaqarrubihi ilayhi bittiba'i awamirih, meaning to say he becomes close to him through his obeying his commands and his avoidance of his prohibitions. Wal ikthar min nawafil al ibadah, and he increases in his the supererogatory acts. Ma'a kaunihi la yaftur an dhikrihi, as well as his condition of not being in a state of pause from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَرَى بِقَلْبِهِ غَيْرُهُ, and with his heart he sees no other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لِاسْتِغْرَاقِهِ فِي نُورِ مَعْرِفَتِهِ, because he is in the depths, yes, of the light of ma'rifah. فَلَا يَرَى إِلَّا دَلَائِلْ قُدْرَتِهِ, so he does not see in this world except the dala'il, in other words, except the signs that point to the power and the knowledge and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَسْمَعْ إِلَّا آيَاتِهِ, and he does not hear, yes, except for the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَنْتِقْ إِلَّا بِالثَّنَاءِ عَلَيْهِ, and he does not speak. Yes, he does not speak, nor does he utter any words except as praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يَتَحَرَّكْ, nor does he move except in the state of ta'ah, obedience to him. وَهَذَا هُوَ الْمُتَّقِي, and this is the true meaning of the muttaqi, the one who is the possessor of taqwa. This is the station of wilayah. In other words, they become, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it is said here, بَالْخِلْعَةَ الْخِلَافَةِ, they become Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's vicegerents in this world. Yes. وَقَدْ أَشَارَ إِلَيْهَا رَسُولٌ, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given indication of this, as he said, فِيمَا يَرْوِيهِ, through what he has narrated from his Lord, yes, through in the Hadith Qudsi, and Rabbihi in Allah Ta'ala qala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, my servant does not draw close to me through something more beloved, more dear to me, other than what I have obligated him. وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي, and he does not cease to draw near to me. Bin nawafil, through the supererogatory, the recommended acts, hatta uhibbahu, until I have loved him. And if I have then loved him, I become the hearing through which he hears, and the sight through which he sees, and the hands through which he acts or performs his actions, and his feet through which he walks. فَبِيَ يَسْمَعُ وَبِيَ يُبْصِرُ, and through me he listens, and through me he speaks, and through me he acts, and through me he walks. And should he ask me of something, I shall surely give him. Yes, لَأُعْتِيَنَّهُ. Yes, the term lam there is the lam ta'kid, to indicate certainty, and a promise. Yes, and the noon there is also a noon ta'kid, meaning to say certainly, without any doubt, that whatever he asks of me, I shall give. Wala in ista'adani, and should he seek protection, yes, from anything that might create harm or fear in him, I shall surely protect him. And I do not وَمَا تَرَدَّدْتُ فِي شَيْءٍ, and I do not waver in anything, in the things that I do, in the same way as the removal of his life. Yes, the life of this servant of mine. Yes, he does not like death. Yes, and I, on the other hand, وأنا أكره ما سأله, and I do not like to hurt him. Yes, ولا بد له من الموت. But however, he must surely taste of death. However, of course, there is differences of treatment, yes, between those who are beloved to him in their state of death and those who are not. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to the prophets, the angels, yes, to give them glad tidings from him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives indications, yes, before their death, yes, like when we read in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that some months, yes, even before he was about to leave, he was already given an indication of his death, and many more things, like his worship becomes more intense as he draws closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, as we know of the great awliya, the likes of Sayyidina al-Faqih al-Muqaddam, in their last period of life, yes, in their last period of life, they remain in a state of fana billah, fana fillah wa baqa billah, yes, that they become extinguished in the in their communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some others amongst the awliya, even the ones who are closer to our times, they would have to be, they'd have to be awakened, yes, for them to be, to be with the family or those who are around them. For otherwise, they're already in a state of togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the awliya and salihin. So certainly it is not the same, yes. Pandur. So therefore see, as Imam Haddad said here, rahimakallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon you, to what is encompassed, yes, in this hadith, al-Qudsi, yes, this sacred hadith, min al-asrar, from al-asrar, from the secrets, wal-ma'arif, yes, and knowledge, or knowledge, wa ta'amman, and reflect what is given here, min al-daqa'iq, from the details, wal-lata'if, and subtleties, وما وصل هذا العبد, and this servant, yes, who has been given tawfiq by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and tawfiq, let us say, is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through which the servant is given the capability, yes, and opportunity to do that which is in line with what deserves and receives the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إذا إلى هذه المرتبة العظيمة, yes, how high this station is, how great and magnificent this station is before his Lord, التي صار فيها, until he becomes, or until in this station he becomes ما يحبه محبوبا لله, whatever he loves, yes, whatever he loves is beloved by Allah, and whatever he despises, whatever he hates, it is also hated, yes, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Illa bi'ada'i maftaradahu alayhi. And how did he get to this station? It is by truly being the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, is only known as a slave because he has extinguished his own desires for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's desire over him. Yes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, udkhulu fis-silmi kafah, enter into submission, enter into the religion of Islam, which is the religion of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, wholeheartedly, yes, holistically, yes, in the entirety of your being. And do not consider for an instant even that this is basically a means of robbing you away from your freedom, yes, and independence. For in truth, your independence lies in no other state than in a state of submission. That is how we were created. In fact, it is being in opposition to it that brings about this this harmony and discord in our lives. So it is that here, the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have reach to this stage, they become mahbub in Allah. They become beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, whoever loves them loves Allah. And whoever they love, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love. Yes. That is why I think in the Lata'if al-Atrar bi Ahlillah al-Diyar of Sheikh Nuruddin Ar-Rani, he quotes a hadith saying that one old Jewish lady, she came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, having converted recently to Islam, and she said that do not be too difficult, yes, Ya Rasulullah, upon us. How is it that you demand of us to not love, yes, any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then at the same time, yes, you command us to love you, yes. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to this lady, "La tashghuli qalbaki." Do not be too preoccupied with your heart. Yes, I mean to say, do not be too concerned with these matters of the mysteries of the heart. If you love me, then you will surely love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, if you love me, you will surely love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. And in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another hadith, yes, which is sound, it is said, love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the gifts that He has showered you, and love me for your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and love the members of my household for my sake. Now, of course, in this instance, we can understand, because the awliya, since they are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so whoever that loves them will attain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, which is why we say in our dua, yes, Allahumma, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hubbak, yes, wa hubba man yuhibbuk, and the love of those who love you. Yes. Naam. And this is all attained bi'ada'i ma aftaradahu, through what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated alayhi, upon him, bil ikthar, as well ikthar, and to increase min al-nawafil, as especially the recitation of the Quran, since it is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, wala dhikrullahi akbar. Indeed, yes, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is of the highest stage. For all the ibadat, yes, has in its intention the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sawm, yes, has as its intention taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is consciousness of Allah, which is dhikr. As-salah, yes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, aqimis salata li dhikri, yes, perform the salah for my remembrance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Udkurullaha zikran kathira. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a lot. Yes. But of course, when we say this, it does not mean that if you are doing silent dhikr, or you are doing contemplation in dhikr and tafakkur, that what is obligated of the salah and the other forms of the wajibat has become lifted. Min al-nawafil ibtigha'a zulfa. Of course, all of this will perform is seeking proximity to Him. In kanat laka himma, yes, and fasibak, to say that you have surely outstripped the others if you have this himma, you have this desire, fil wusul, yes, in order to attain ila maratibil kamal, to attain to the station of perfection. Wa raghbah fi bulugh, and a strong and burning desire to attain to the darajat, to the stations of ar-rijal, of the man, faqad wadaha laka tariq, and it has been shown to you the tariq. As we know, human beings, or rather the entirety of creation is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in darajat wal maratib, that everyone have stations and degrees. Yes, and they are not the same. Yes, they are not the same. Those who have knowledge and those who do not have knowledge are not of the same category. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Is the one who knows the same as the one who does not? Yes, and is the one who is blind the same as the one who can see? Yes, especially spiritually. Yes, in this sense. darajat. In this sense, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created amongst his servants, some has been chosen by him to be anbiya. And this, there is no, la sabil ilayhi. You cannot, it is not something that is acquired, it is gifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, al-wilayah, yes, al-wilayah, or the station of the wali, despite it being written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is an element of al-kasb. Yes, there is an element of acquisition, and the acquisition is through taqwa. Yes, it's through taqwa. Yes, and as we see that certainly certain human beings have been perfected, as in the history of mankind. And when we look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's dialogues with them in the Quran, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised them for the other for the rest of humanity, we understand, yes, that they occupy certainly a very high station, to such an extent that because of their closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah have granted them special gifts, some of them given karamat, yes, others given forgiveness, and others, yet others are given other kinds of gifts, yes, for he is the Lord of the universe, and to him belongs the treasures of the universe. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ جَعَلَ بِفَضْلِهِ وَرَحْمَتِهِ فِي النَّوَافِلِ. Yes, and also understand, yes, this chapter is talking about the benefits and the superiority of the nawafil. Yes, the supererogatory acts. Yes, we should not think that the supererogatory acts are mere ritualistic acts. Yes, but rather that they are as gifts by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as a means. Yes, in this case, it is said that it is a means of compensating, yes, for what has occurred in your fara'id, yes, in the obligatory aspects. If there are any blemishes in your ibadah, then the nawafil acts, yes, to cover it up and to improve, yes, to improve your standing, as it were. Walakin, however, and this is from Imam al-Haddad's fiqh, his deep discernment, that the blemishes must be of the same now, of the same kind. For example, that if in your salah, yes, there is some blemish there is something lacking in the salah, then it should be covered also through salah, and fast also in the same way. Wal fard huwa al asal. But we must know that the principle is the fard. Wal nafal tabi' lahu. And that which is supererogatory follows it. Yes, follows it. وَالَّذِي يُؤَدِّي الْفَرَائِدْ وَيَجْتَنِبُ الْمَهَارِمْ وَلَا يَتَنَفَّلْ أَحْسَنُ. Yes, Imam al-Haddad said, the one who performs the fara'id, that which is obligatory, and he abstains from the maharim, that which is haram, but he does not do any of the nawafil, he is better than the one who performs the nawafil. However, in terms of the fara'id, yes, he is lacking. Yes, he is found lacking in some of the fara'id. Wa iyyaka, and be very careful. Yes. Wa iyyaka an ta'rid an shay' min al-fara'id ishtighalan bi shay'in min nawafil. This is stupidity. Yes. To concern yourself, to busy yourself, yes, with the nawafil until you lose something of the wajib. For fata'tham, because a person sins, yes, by leaving that which is obligatory, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept the supererogatory. وتقع في ذلك مثل ما يشتغل بتحصيل العلم الذي هو في حقه فضيلة. His similitude, the likes is like a person who busies himself, yes, with regards to seeking knowledge, yes, to seek that category of knowledge which is only a fadla, yes, which is only a virtue, or shall we say in this case the fadila means it only adds to his excellence. Yes. However, ويترك الاشتغال بتحصيل ما هو عليه من العلم فريضة. However, he leaves that which is wajib upon him. Yes, either the wajib refers to his physical acts, his external acts, or the inward acts. Allah. In other words, as Imam al-Ghazali has outlined in the Kitabul Ilm, That knowledge is of several categories. First and foremost, there is the knowledge which is fardu ain in nature, meaning to say obligatory upon every individual. And the subdivision of fardu ain is that which refers to the external and that which refers to the internal. That which refers to the external means you are required to study knowledge that teaches you how to perform your outward duties and teaches you what is haram, so that you can abstain from it. Yes, and that which is internal, likewise. Yes, it teaches you that which is required for your heart, which is wajib upon your heart, like sabr and shukur and rida, and teaches you how to free yourself from that which is haram, or from that which earns you the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, like al-hasad, envy, al-kibr, arrogance, yes, and so on. So this is fardu ain. And of course, depending on your station in society, depending on where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed you in society and as part of your developmental growth, some of you may be required to increase your knowledge, which is initially of the category of the fardu kifayah, meaning that which is obligatory upon a particular unity of society, which will be transferred into the category of the fardu ain, which is obligatory upon the person who is going to shoulder that responsibility. For example, a person who acquires an amount of wealth and acquires wealth of the category which obligates him to pay zakah, then he must study and he must increase his knowledge in that region. And similarly, a person who, let's say, becomes a teacher must know that what is wajib in his duty as a teacher and what is haram. Yes, what cannot be done, for example, with the student. Yes, what cannot and with regards to the amanah of teaching, and so on. A person who is a lawyer, a person who is a carpenter, and so on and so forth. They will need to learn also the aspects of religion pertaining to muamalah. This becomes their wajib in that instance. Now, over and above the fardu ain and the fardu kifayah, there are some categories of knowledge which are considered fadilah. Yes, it would be nice to have. Yes, these are praiseworthy. Yes, they are praiseworthy knowledge, but their praiseworthiness may become blameworthy. Yes, if a person, yes, in pursuit of such knowledge, neglects their fardu ain. Yes, neglects their fardu ain. In this category of knowledge is included in Imam al-Ghazali's classification, the works of, let us say, history, and good poetry, yes, that induces to good actions and so on. So these may, and also at the same time, even the categories of knowledge that we have mentioned pertaining to the religious sciences, yes, like the science of tafsir, the ulum al-Quran, the ulum al-hadith, the various aspects of fiqh in terms of that which lies beyond the qadar, beyond the limits of the what is called the necessary. Yes, there is then the limit of which a person becomes adept, and then beyond which it is, for example, in fiqh, the gharaib. Yes, to study the masail, the rulings of which these are rare occurrences, or which does no longer occur, which only has a historical import, and so on. Or to study the science, as we said, of histories of things which are only as trivia, histories of things which only which are properly suited antiquarians. Yes, not in a sense the history that is inclusive of the fardu ain. In other words, history that allows you to understand properly your role and duty. Now, these things are fada'il, as it is said here. So Imam al-Ghazali is saying that the person who busies himself with fada'il to the exclusion of the fardu ain, now this person is yes, this person is sinning before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other And the other is with regards to al-kasb, مع القدرة على اشتغال بالنوافل العبادة ويتقياله. الله أكبر. Yes, a person who leaves behind employment. Yes, meaning say who refuses to work, refuses to earn a living. Yes, whereas he is capable to do so, and he instead chooses, yes, to busy himself with the nawafil of ibadah, and in doing this, he leaves those who are under his care, under his responsibility. Yes, وَيَتْرُكُ إِيَالُهُ. Allahu Akbar. Yes, فَقِسْ عَلَى هَاتَيْنِ. And use then these two pictures, these two examples, these two parables through which you can understand through which you can understand the notion of priorities in our religion. Naam. Okay, so I think the next section is already on knowledge, and let us reserve this for next time, inshallah. So I think that is the extent that we will share this morning. Okay, yes, we can, inshallah. So where we left off, do you remember where we? I think we'll uh, perhaps we'll just do that next week then, inshallah. فاتحة بالقبول وتمام كل سؤال ومأمول وصلاح شأن ظاهرا وباطنا في الدين والدنيا والآخرة، دافعة لكل شر جالبة لكل خير لنا ولأحبابنا ولوالدينا، وبنية أن الله ينور قلوبنا وقوالبنا مع التقى والهدى والعفاف والغنى والموت على دين الإسلام، والإيمان بلا مهنة ولا امتحان بحق سيد ولد عدنان وعلى ما نوى الإمام عبد الله بن علي بن حداد وعلى ما نوى أسلافنا الصالحين وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بسر الأسرار الفاتحة. وعليكم السلام.